Wouldn't it be cool if you could hack a subject's deception? Let's talk about tip number 44 and find out how we can. Hey, welcome back. Stan Walters with you again. 101 tips on interviewing and interrogation. Tip number 44. And we're talking about the possibility of if you could actually hack into a subject deception. You know, like the hack group Anonymous? What if you could really hack into deception? I think you can. There's two concepts that I want you to think about for just a second. They're a little bit complex, but hang with me, and I think you'll understand how we can hack a subject deception. One phenomenon is called cognitive load. Cognitive load. Now, this theory was first espoused by a guy named John Sweller in the 1980s. It had to do with the mind trying to process too many bits of information or having difficulty processing data when there's too much going on. So with that first step, let's think of this. What's happening in deception? Okay, first of all, the subject, think of like windows in a computer, got different windows and activities going. One window in your subject's mind is the reality of what happened. Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, cognitive, emotional, and time, just to give you an idea of a grid. This is what's embedded in memory. Deception is creating an alternate or second scenario, or second image, or second storyline, if you will. So now the mind has two tasks at work. One protecting this one, but yet supporting the new deception, but also having to be able to sell that effectively to someone else to convince them, which means you have to modify that. And by the way, you also have to remember it. So now there's three windows open. You've got to be able to read the other person's behavior to see if they're reacting, giving you the feedback that says my deception's working. So now you have four windows open. And you'd also have to be able to monitor your own symptoms, be sure they're not giving anything away. So there's actually five windows at work. So by asking good, pointed, direct questions, go back and look at a previous video on Googling your subject. If you hit really good quality questions and hit those spots where you think there's deception, now again, think of finding the topic more than deception and stay on the topic. You can really jack up and create a lot of cognitive load in your subject's mind, making them difficult to sustain that level of high cognitive load activity. The second piece that I think comes into play has to do with what's called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance was espoused, a theory was proposed, it's called action opinion theory by a guy named Leo Festinger in 1950s. It's belief, ideas, and values. The mind likes order. The mind likes structure. It likes things in columns and rows and labels and likes consistency. Think what happens in deception. Okay, so if let's say that the reality is I've committed a behavior that's wrong or inappropriate, whatever, but I am trying to convince you, the listener, that my actions and behaviors and beliefs are something contrary, that creates a lot of dissonance or noise, or I like the term being of two minds within the subject's thought process. It increases cognitive load. See how the two, I think, play together? Or let's say that I've committed an act that I know is wrong and have real strong feelings about it. So there might be a real strong emotional trigger creating a disruption between my actions, my beliefs, my values. Or that what I've done, I'm trying to justify my actions or blame somebody else for making excuses for my behavior. All of these, I believe these two playing together creates the load and the noise that we want in a deceptive subject. Find that place or places, and I think you'll own your subject. You can hack deception. Some keys that we found in the research to help spot cognitive load. For one thing, look for areas where your subject voluntarily keeps repeating and keeps telling part of the story or event or an action that's out of sequence, almost as if they're trying to convince themselves or replay it or clarify it or make sure that it's working. Correct? Follow that? Okay, look for indirect responses. You ask about topic A, which is in the target area. Watch them to drift to something else, to drift to another topic altogether. Or they'll have answers that jump 3 or 4 or 5 different topics at a time. Think of, if you got your CD player on, you got one of those cheap ones, right? And you're going across a rough railroad track, and the light scribe that reads the CD bounces tracks and skips tracks. That's because the mind is working through that cognitive load, through that balance of several different problems to solve, which creates the dissonance. I believe the two play together. Okay, look for slurred speech, where the subject, because it came in. So stammering and stuttering, our ums and uhs, as we talked about in our last series, number 43, are not deception cues. Listen to the clarity of the message. I can still have our ums and uhs and still complete a coherent sentence. But in cognitive dissonance and cognitive load, the thought line is skipping like 2 or 3 different lines of script. It's like reading one page of a manuscript and losing a place and jumping down here, then moving back, or reading the same place over and over again. Look for the places where your subject seems to have the huge or biggest spikes in load, in cognitive dissonance, with the noise, where their mind's at work. I think you found the hot spot. So when you move through your narrative interview, orientation, narration, cross-examination, this is where we get our topics from. Those places in the narrative where the subject skipped time, places, and people, had trouble in the description, has trouble in follow-up questions. So what you do is you zero in your focus around those 3 or 4 topics, in not harassing, not haranguing the subject, not pressuring, but just keep the questions targeted around those parts, and you keep going back through explanation or description to have your subject clarify to you. Think about it. Hacking into the subject deception. You'll own the subject. Now, for some more details like that and more concepts, be sure to hit and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Get to the website. Take a look at the on-demand classes. Take a look, if you want to schedule a course for your agency where I can spend some time and really flesh this out with you, be sure to drop me a note and let's talk about how we can come and work with your staff, your personnel, and improve their investigations and make them more efficient and learn to hack that deception. See you back next time for tip number 45. In the meantime, be safe. This is Stan Walters. I'll see you again.